Hello, everybody, and welcome to the 11th episode of the ArtaCast. Also, a very special one because it's exactly by recording one day after the NA Continentals, and what a tournament it was! It was so exciting to follow everything what happened there. Yeah, obviously the first thing I want to mention is congrats to Ed for taking this home. It's amazing. It was. I mean, we will talk about it. It was amazing for me how he played it, especially some things about it. We will talk about it later. But he just. I thought about it today. He's such a boss. He was already qualified for the Worlds, and he thinks, oh, I will go to this NA Continentals. I don't know. Yeah, maybe I get some prizes, and I don't care. And then he just wins it, and yeah, crazy. Eddie, how was your week? How was your? You watched probably the tournament too, I guess, a good part of it.
Yeah, I watched as much as I could. Obviously, it's a little rough timing for Europe, but
Yeah.
I did stay up quite late to watch as much as I possibly could, and yeah, it was. I probably enjoyed it more than any tournament I've watched before. It's helped that quite a lot of our friends did very well, and people that we've had the pleasure of talking to in the past. Multiple of them made top 16, and so there were a lot of storylines to follow, which was great, and just like so happy for those players to have got that far and have to made it. But yeah, I think overall the thing I just really liked most about it was between some of the decks that we'll talk about. There's a load of interesting decks to talk about, so great for us. We get to talk about cool things. But across all of them, I think almost every single one had some choices in it that you would look at and think, this goes against like conventional logic. There's something going on here that's this player is good enough to have their own ideas and to back their own plan, and reject conventional logic and what the masses say, and they just prove that they knew better. And I just think that's so cool when a great player wins by doing things their way. Like, nothing makes me happy. I just think it's awesome.
Yeah, absolutely. And if you see the names, there's very much people that are familiar. Doesn't mean it's yeah, it's not meaning if someone unfamiliar makes it, but yeah, there are so many people that put a lot of effort into Lorcana, and Ed, Syed, Zach Bivens, Sailor, Kurt Spies, R&B. That's only a
Ed?
few of them. I said Ed, didn't I said Ed? Yeah.
I don't think you did.
Okay. Yeah, and Ed maybe too.
Just a little bit.
Yeah, just a little bit. And yeah, it's just good to see that their effort got rewarded. I mean, there are still some players that went a bit unlucky. I think Decandio and Neumnot and Wonderland, but yeah, not everyone can be there, and you need to be lucky as well to get there. So I hope they are not too sad. Yeah, just a very tough field, and
Yeah.
even Ed will probably agree that he needed a bit of luck to make it.
Yeah, I'm sure he would.
Yeah.
But that looking at that top 8 especially, and like you say, like nothing speaks more to the value of just hard work, because these are the majority are like you say, these are known players that have really, this isn't an accident, right? They have worked really, really hard to get to this point, and yeah, it's just great to see that rewarded across the board. You do obviously need a little bit of luck to run hot in a tournament where the skill level is so high, always. But when you start to see the same names over and over again, you know, it makes you sort of think luck is certainly not the biggest aspect of it.
Yeah, absolutely true. My favorite moment of the whole tournament, shall I tell you what it was?
Yeah, go ahead.
It was when Zach Bivens won his top 16 match. and he got interviewed and he cried, or he nearly cried. He had some tears in his eyes, and it was so emotional for me. It felt so real, and I totally could understand it. I knew I would also be very emotional. How can you say, touched or something? If I make it this far, and you know how hard it is, and it was such a cool moment, and I was happy for him.
Yeah, I'm really glad you brought that up, because that was also, that hit really hard for me as well. Number one, because Zach is a very cool guy that I've had the pleasure of talking to before, and has always been just like the greatest sort of ambassador for the community you could hope for, in addition to being incredibly consistent. And then, yeah, I think I just related a lot to that. I can't relate to the bit about securing a world's invite, but I related a lot to the feeling of achievement that comes in that moment. So not many people, well, a few people, but no one better than you will have. You sort of observed the level of emotion in me when I made the Sunday of the European one. I was like an emotional wreck, and if somebody had put a camera in front of me at that moment for an interview, I probably would have bawled like a baby. And so it's just really nice to see that kind of like real emotion.
Yeah.
It builds the storyline, and yeah, I guess helps showcase how much this matters. You know, these players like Zach, they've won a lot, but they've never won anything like this. And proving themselves on the biggest stage and securing the world's invite there is nothing bigger. I mean, other than maybe winning, but
Yeah.
there is nothing bigger, and it's really nice to see how much it's appreciated as well.
Yeah, but actually, I don't know. I had to go then yesterday. We were out yesterday, and I don't know against whom he lost then. I don't know. Was it San? I think it was San, right? No, I don't know.
No, I'm not sure. I didn't see the game after that.
No, yeah. I forgot to look, but yeah. Nevertheless, he got his world invite, and as well
amazing.
as Sailor, which I'm really happy for.
Yep.
And yeah, and also some pass downs in America is crazy.
Yeah,
pass
too,
downs.
right?
Yeah, Hassan and Ed just activated boss mode, and so I think Mo, he's top 8 now. Then Kurt Spies is qualified.
Yeah, one of them is Kurt.
And the other one was, I don't know, Sean, I think. I don't know. I think it was Red Blue. No, it was Hamza. I think it was Hamza.
Yeah, Hamza.
Yeah. Red Blue, yeah.
Yeah, that's crazy. 2 pass downs on world invites is wild. It's completely wild. And I think it was because Mo was top of the standings going in. I think Mo was in a position going into that Sunday where
very likely that he's qualified.
Yeah, he's on the play in his own match to win, and I think it wasn't a terrible matchup. So I think you're already feeling quite good. But then if you happen to lose, also if Ed beat RMB or something, he also locked it, and you just think, yeah, RMB's no slouch. That's a tough game for Ed.
Either Ed or San has to win. Either of those.
Exactly. Yeah, right. You've got 2 matches that could also win if you lost to secure your invite. Oh, that must have been such a good feeling.
Yeah.
To have that parachute of, okay, I can lose, but then
2 other guys play for me.
yeah. If I lose, I then get 2 more lives. One of them is played by Ed Chiu, one of them is played by Syed. I think I'd feel quite good. I'd probably feel pretty confident going in. Yeah, so that's amazing. But yeah, fantastic results for everyone, and so nice to see all those players at that level. Massive congratulations. And even to the ones that didn't get the world's invites. It sucks. I've been there, but it's also an incredible achievement to make it that far. So I'm sure they're all feeling proud of themselves.
And also for the great players that didn't make even top cut. I know how you feel, and it's tough, and you shouldn't doubt yourself. Even if some are doubting maybe themselves maybe could if they think, oh, I did some last day changes or something that didn't work out or something. And but yeah, I always say you do nothing without a sense. You know, you did it, and it had in that moment where you did it, it made sense. So you did it. So you
sure.
don't have to regret it. You know. I don't know if that was understandable, but.
No, I get it.
Yeah.
I don't think any of them the night before took a look at their deck and was like, right, this is a bit too good.
Yeah.
How can we make it worse?
yeah. Actually, exactly what I mean. Yeah. And speaking of SEC, when I yesterday in the morning when I saw the deck lists, I had a bet, and my bet was SEC, and that's the first deck list I want to talk about with you, because
Sure.
I thought SEC will make it. I know when I say SEC will make it, then I think he has the highest chance, and the chance is probably 15% instead of 12 or something. You know, when I say SEC makes it, then I think he has the highest chance. So that was just my guess. Cause I often think about SEC that he's sometimes a bit ahead of the meta. And that's exactly what I think with this list. And I tried it now in some playtesting game. It's absolutely awesome. I lost no best of 3 match in 8 or so or 9.
Nice.
The thing is, it's there's not things that stand out too much in this list because it's a relatively basic purple steel list, but with rabbits instead of dogs, and the decision of rabbits instead of dogs makes much more sense to me, because Zeus is a crazy powerful card right now. I won even against 2x2-0 against the dog deck, the dog Ember Steel, because you have many high willpower character that they can't remove easily. And singing a Zeus is such a powerful thing. You can't. I don't want to say you can't lose purple mirrors, but it's if you play a genie and they play a genie and you Zeus the genie and play, I don't know, a rabbit or something, it's the tempo swing is unbelievable.
Yeah, it's brutal.
And it's the best shark answer in the game. And so he made a very, very clever deck list with only probably not that good matchup is probably traditional Steel Song, I guess, with way more songs and who shoot down everything. I guess that's where the Pete's come into play for him, but yeah, not always, and probably the worst matchup. But other than that, I like his list. I can't see any crazy bad matchups. It's a very skill dependent matchup. I also experienced the first time that Pete is a very skillful card to play with. You have to play with the card correctly to use it, and you can't use it too early or too late. You have to always use it in the accept best turn. And yeah, Lawrence is a card. You could make arguments between Lawrence and White Rose, but I guess he just calculated, or how can you say? He just thought Lawrence has a much higher chance to quest in the current meta than White Rose, because White Rose can't quest into a Daisy or something, and the Lawrence can always quest. And the Lawrence is very, very good into red-blue. It's a very annoying card for them. I mean, against red-blue, you could make arguments which is better, White Rose or Lawrence. But I totally get the Lawrence decision there. He can quest into nearly everything, and also some Kaloons, which are annoying. Only 2 genies to be more consistent. The rabbits is just he can go the grindy route with this deck, no problem. He can go aggressive, but also can go very grindy. He has no, he doesn't fall behind on board too much with these cheap songs. It's very hard to make a board battle against this deck. So I like it. I think it's really, really strong and underrated. Yeah, that's what I have to say.
Yeah, I think it's a perfect analysis. It's such a good meta call in so many ways. There are so many different things you can play in these purple steel builds, and I just really like it. I think obviously we'll talk about Ed's list separately and Rabbit over Genie as a concept, but it makes so much more sense for the consistency for a lot of these decks, and it's really nice that it's kind of paid dividends. I think, as you say, those big swings in the mid game with Zeus, if you play a Rabbit on 4, then Zeus something, then maybe slam your own Genie. What is better than that as a tempo play? Like,
Nothing.
and this is
nothing.
coming from the perspective of like I play what I play the deck that has tempo in its name. I don't think I can do anything that good.
No, and you can make arguments for green purple has a good matchup against red blue. Okay, that's fine. And what makes this deck worse into red blue? I don't know. You could say Gogo, but you say Gogo is not that crazy, And any other green card we play, Murfolk. Okay, Murfolk, yeah. But they have Smee, they have Lawrence, they have when you're on the play and you open one drop Smee Lawrence, it's very hard for them. Just hard. The Lawrence needs nearly a B prep. That's so annoying for them.
Yeah.
The best answer is still Maui, the old Maui and you also have Pete as a shark answer too, you could say. So you can just say, okay, quest with everything, play Pete, and at least they can only recur the spell and not play it. So I think it has a lot of legs, and no surprise for me that he made it this far.
Yeah, it does make me like. I think in our last episode, at least one person pointed out in the comments on YouTube, they said like the disdain that I was saying the term dock pile with, and I was like, oh god, is my hatred for dock showing that much? I was trying to hide it a little bit, but obviously did a pretty bad job. I feel so much happier with a list like this not playing dock, even though like on paper the ability to bounce dock is so good with snakes and everything.
I think with this list you grind the dock deck out because it's still the fact that the boards are so frozen. As soon as a Calhoun hits the board, nobody quests anymore, and then it goes so grindy with both decks, and then it's mostly dependent who has the better card draw engine, and then that's questionable. That's arguable. But I think that because of the genies, I mean we will talk about it later. But the thing is about Rabbit, you can't play an answer for Rabbit, but you can play an answer for Genie. So that's also some people will think about genies, but for Rabbit you can't say, okay, I play. Yeah, I mean you can play a brawl, but it's not that good. So I think that's also one of the decision thinking here.
Yeah.
Nice.
That makes total sense.
And it's totally reasonable to hate dock piles. That's no problem. You can hate it.
Yeah, I just don't like inconsistency. I just don't like an uninkable card that I look at and I think sometimes, I don't like cards that are like brilliant top decks and like can be annoying in your hand outside of that. Like obviously you can empty your own hand then play your dock. That's fine, but it just doesn't really. I just like to curve out, ink the cards I don't need, and then play consistent stuff. And I don't know. It just feels like every time I play it, my hand is 3 docks, and every time I play against it, dock is like the first card off the top of their deck once they're out of gas.
Yeah.
Like it's always perfect time for them, bad time for me, and I just that inconsistency. It's not for me. But it's far from a bad card. It's incredible at what it does, and it's. I can't hate it too much, but no, it's not something I'm interested in playing with.
Me neither. So the next big shout out to our believer in the Green Purple family, and big shout out to Mo. You did an amazing job coming first seed of day one. Sadly, you had to face. Oh, then Zach Bivens didn't play against him, right? Because he had to play against San in the top 8 match.
Yeah, right.
And he lost, so it's the worst matchup. He was also not very tagged into the matchup, because he's playing no Elsars. But
Yeah.
I think that's reasonable to not tag into every matchup. And Green Seal was also not very popular, so I totally get that. That's no critic. And it's a different version, you can say. And then my list or your list or nearly the most lists that were around in the past. Some interesting things. The most standout is probably the Pegasus package, which we thought is not good enough anymore. And I was kind of confident in saying that, but he proved us to be wrong. I would be curious how he. Maybe I will talk with him at some point. How he liked it.
Yeah, that would be cool.
Because there could still be some cards that are that didn't perform super great, but I can see the Pegasus shift line to catch people off guard really much. I don't know, you play Merfolk, then Pegasus and another one drop, and then turn 3 you shift, and then it's nearly over probably.
I mean,
yeah.
I've been playing the version myself a bit, and things certainly do seem to go that way.
Yeah.
I've been happy to have it when I have. It's been it's remarkably powerful list, and like you say, there probably are some opportunities to improve it, and there are some decisions that will be like Mo picking the cards that he knows he likes to play with, right? And like we say about playing the things that gel with your playstyle. As far as I understand, Mo made a really deep run in the Vegas DLC. That's how they qualified for Continentals. And I think the Pegasus package was in the deck then, and something that clearly enjoyed those play patterns. And I think it cast my mind back a little bit when we were talking about the decks that we played at Continentals, and I was for the first time talking about Don Carnage. I'd put it in the deck for I think a couple of other people had experimented with it, but to my knowledge, it wasn't something people were really doing, and I put it in. I mentioned you get to this point where you reach a critical mass of evasives, which is that when you play a couple and your opponent plays a couple, as most people are, because genies are around and a few other relevant evasive things are around, they sort of check each other. But when like all your stuff is evasive, they do just run out of answers. And you know, like in the past, how much Red Purple has struggled with like a Sir Hiss or a turn 1 Pegasus. This build is great at exploiting that, and into the field is just such a. It's a great choice for me into the field. I love so many things about the build, and even going to eat my words about Lyle. I said I wasn't interested in playing with Lyle at the moment. It's been very good when I've been testing this out, and
Lyle is always this card.
Really enjoyed it. Yeah.
Sorry. Sorry.
No, go ahead.
Lyle is always the card. It's either the best or the worst card in your deck. That's the thing about him. And but it's often the best card in your deck. So it's absolutely reasonable. There are, I mean, this version is probably. I wouldn't necessarily say the most aggressive one, but it's the one with the most 1-drops and with less reactive cards like Elsa. I mean, cutting Elsa was nearly unimaginable for us, but he was brave enough to just say, I am always the proactive player and never the reactive player, and then I don't need this card. What I also think is crazy for me, when I say crazy, I don't mean wrong. Please don't understand me. Please don't
Yeah.
misunderstand me. Is only 3 kids, and
Mm.
um, yeah, but because that are 2 cards that are, and that's a good thing that he made it this way, because that's cards I never imagined to cut, and
Mm.
he proves that it's doable.
Yeah. And
And yeah,
it looked fantastic into the field, didn't it? Like, there were a lot of those games where kit probably wouldn't have done a huge amount, and it's a crutch for me as well. I don't think I can register a deck with less than 4 kits at the moment. But on the Elsa point, it's my favorite thing about the deck. I have been slowly trying to play without Elsa. In the week running up to the tournament, I did play a version with no Elsas whatsoever for a couple of days and was happy. When you're proactive that often, I had a discussion with a couple of people in the 20 law thread about it, and I think the sort of feeling that I shared was, obviously the card is great. Like, no one's going to say you're wrong to play Elsa. It's amazing at the role it plays. It does a fantastic job that the mid-rangey versions of the decks absolutely needed. But key point of skill difference with a deck like green purple is knowing when to shift gears from being the aggressor to taking profitable trades, and Elsa just kind of forces your hand quite a lot. I think at least some of it is caused by me not inking it enough and holding on to it.
yeah,
But then I would find myself.
that's the thing that I also thought, because she's inkable. I thought she's so meaningful in some situations, and you just have to realize when you are the proactive player, and then you ink it. So she
Yes.
can't be a bad include, but sometimes you top deck it for no, or sometimes it's just too bad. And I mean, success never. I always say success speaks for itself, and yeah. So yeah, sorry, did you? I didn't want to
No,
interrupt
no,
you.
no. I just the conclusion I've come to is that the card is great, but I should ink it more often. And I can probably afford to not play 4 of them. But I totally get the playing without, because this build is so proactive. I can see all the reasons why, and it's obviously fighting for space. So I love so much about this, and I would love the chance to talk to Mo at some point in the future, because they obviously have a great mind for green purple and put up, like, honest, like, this has got to be the best results anybody has put up at like the high level with green purple, right? Of finishing that high in a DLC and then going on to finish that high in Continentals. This is
Yeah.
the greatest performance with the deck that we've seen, right? Like, at the high level official play stuff. So
What I like,
obviously an incredible pilot.
yeah, what I like most about the list is the Sir Hisses, because I was off it, and I thought maybe he has a place, and then I thought you never, in no world, you can cut a go for a Sir Hiss. But so I just thought you have to play first 4 Gogos and then play a Sir Hiss. And
Yeah.
that's exactly what he did. I didn't find space for Sir Hiss, but I wanted to test it at some point, and he found space, and he played him in favor of Banzai.
Yeah.
Although he's not that high on uninkable, so he could afford it to play Banzai, but still decided to not do it. And
Yeah.
I totally get it. So his was a card. I also said, and that's what I think that's also something he wanted to do, that evasives are the option for us to raise in this many matchups where the board is so frozen that nobody can do something. And that's the way for us. With the evasives, we can still quest. We can quest with Sahis into a Hensai Sisu. We can quest into everything. We can quest into a Lawrence. We can quest into everything, and that's something that Banzai couldn't do. So you could say she makes more lore maybe than even a Banzai in many matchups, and
Yeah.
is a more reliable trade if you want to trade yourself. More reliable card then, yeah.
Yeah, totally.
Still not sure
Yeah,
about Prince Philip or White Rose. That's I mean, it doesn't make much difference probably.
I've never been someone to play with Prince Philip, but I have for the first time since watching these decks this weekend, and I've liked it in a lot of spots. As a very strong, proactive 3-drop. It, like you say, it basically does the same thing as White Rose, but in some situations has some upside. Against the decks with like a bunch of spot removal, it has decent upside. Like you do get a couple of things out of it. The kind of decks that don't trade well into anything with 3 strength and also play a lot of spot removal, it has advantages over White Rose, and I've seen it do work. So something I'm interested in playing now, for sure.
Yeah, I think the 3-3 split is probably cool. That you have
I like
some diversity.
Because in a vacuum, they're so similar, right? It's just...
Yeah, and sometimes you draw both, and then you can decide which one you play or something, and then I like a split more often.
Yeah, nice. Oh, I do just have to quickly edit something I said when I was talking about highest finishes of green purple. I forgot that Wep finished second in EU Continentals. So sorry to Wep for trying to erase you from history. We remember. Sorry.
Yes. Web, I hope you forgive us.
Yeah. Don't be too mad at me.
Okay. But again, big shout out, Mo. You did a great job.
Yeah.
And
fantastic.
So the next one. So we will look at the top 4, I think. A Dogpile. Another purple steel, but the dog version. And I thought that this deck could be good, and could be. There's no doubt in that. Is there? I mean, it's a very, I don't want to say basic list, but it's a.
Not too many surprises.
Yeah, not too many surprises.
We know the advantages. Decks like this did very well at some sort of mid-sized regional tournaments around the US, and it looked fantastic going in. Obviously, it's a whole different battlefield to cut through a field like Continentals, and very impressive to do it, because this is the kind of deck that I would think, you've got a mixture of cards that excel in certain in some situations, like when they're drawn at the right time, like Doc, but outside of that, a very, very consistent shell. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, the interesting thing is that this could be, in comparison to Zach's list, maybe counted as the bit more aggressive deck, but he decided to play 4 Elsas, and Zach decided Zach did also play Elsas, I think. Sorry.
Yeah, but only 3, right?
Yeah, but only 3. Yeah, but the 4 Elsas are. It's interesting that this deck now is very successful with 4 Elsa, because a dog deck doesn't tend to play much Elsas, I think. I don't know exactly, but I think
no.
But so players of the NA Continentals, what do we think now about Elsa? Why do you make so different outcomes with her? What do we say about her now? We can't say anything.
I think it's collectively just time to open up the conversation on Elsa, because the situation reminds me, like, right back at the start of the set. I don't want to take credit for anything I can't validate. When I published my first version of Green Purple for the set, and I'd cut friends entirely, a lot of people were very surprised, because, like, how do you ever call friends on the other side a bad card? You actually have to go through quite a lot of mental gymnastics to rationalize that to people, and then they end up thinking, oh, you're wrong. These cards that are so versatile and good in a lot of situations, sometimes just don't directly support your play patterns. So a deck like Red Purple probably always wants a massive amount of Elsas, but some of these more tempo-y / aggressive ones maybe 4 is the wrong number. Maybe we've over adjusted for removing genies when we actually have other ways of doing it. Yeah, I think it's just like you have to make the call for your deck. I don't think it's an auto 4 of like people think it is. That's not to say that this player's deck, that Patrick's deck here, made any wrong decisions. You have to say the results speak for themselves. But I think it's a really interesting topic. It's like, how many else's is right? How good is this card? Is it an auto 4 of, regardless of how aggressively slanted your purple deck is? Because obviously the players across this tournament don't seem to agree. They're not all of the same perspective, are they?
Yeah.
It wouldn't seem so.
The only friends is an interesting thing, because that's the only card that exists for me in Lorcana, because I'm a huge believer in Haufen decks, we say in Germany.
Yeah.
In decks that are no two-liners. Sorry, Ed, but I tend to play more cards and be more versatile. But Friends is probably for me the only card that exists in Lorcana that I really think you should play as a 4-off or not at all. Because if you think the card is good in your deck, then it's hard to explain. But I don't know why I don't know how to explain that. But if you think Friends is a card that fits in your deck from playstyle, then you should play her as a 4-off, because it's a draw. I don't know how to explain it, but probably I'm wrong. But it I don't.
I see what you're saying totally. It's like if it's on paper, if it's right for you to skip a quest with your 3-cost character to draw 2, and that is, on the balance of what you're trying to achieve, that is worthwhile for within your game plan.
Yeah, that's exactly what I mean. Yeah, and then you should play 4-off probably.
Because if it's better, why would you not want to do it in as many situations as possible? If your decision is quest with my 3-drop versus draw 2 cards, effectively like trading +1 card for -1 lore a lot of the time. If that is correct for your deck within your play pattern, why do you not want to do it as much as possible?
That's very good. Very good summarize. That's exactly how I feel. But I don't want to say. I mean, you can play one friend that it's not a bad deck. That's not what I want to say. I don't want to harm Patrick here. Patrick did a great job.
Well, I'll offer the counterpoint that I actually like it as a one-off because it's a, like, even in decks that often, like, maybe you land on the side of, actually I want to quest most of the time. Going +1 card in hand is not worth that quest often, even if you're the deck that is trying to do that, which on paper this should be, because it's reasonably aggressively built. You're trying to close the game out before you get completely buried by red, purple, and red, blue. Even if your deck is that way, it's still a great top deck when you see like that
that's
one-off,
true,
right?
Yeah.
And the cost of including this one is really low, and it's a great flip off the top in some situations, and an easy ink when you're not in that situation. You're never going to get buried in copies of Friends and look at them thinking, I wish this was anything else. Yes, it's like an opening hand ink in a lot of scenarios, I'd imagine, and a strong top deck when you're out of gas. Is the counter argument I offer.
Yeah, and another argument would be for me, if you say the best amount of dogs in my deck would be 5, and I can't play 5 dogs, and then I play 1 Friends. That would be the other argument for me.
Yeah, perfectly sound.
So yeah, you convinced me.
You're so easily swayed.
So easily. Third place, Syed. Also one of the goats of Lorcana. Crazy, this consistency. I will never forget that I beat him in a bad matchup on the draw. That's probably one of the best achievements that I ever achieve in this
Yeah.
game.
Probably not too many people that can say they've done that.
And that makes me even more proud after this run again. And yeah, I like his. Yeah, it's grid steel. It's the only real standout for me is the four of. That's crazy. 4 of I'm still here, and
Yeah.
I would be curious about. I mean, it's a good card. Why not? Yeah, but I would be curious why he thinks this is a 4 of, because there are many cards in this list I could see to play more, like Ursula Deceiver, Mrs. V, or Muses, or Coves, or something. So he decided to play more I'm Still Here in favor of that. And that would be something I'm interested in, his opinion. But because then he thinks probably this card is really needed. And yeah, it's very good against steel. Probably.
Yeah.
I mean, it's going around the Cindy Storm. I mean, if you Diablo shifts I'm Still Here, then Cindy Storm doesn't work. So probably that's another reason.
But I think something that maybe isn't immediately apparent. I've played a tiny bit of Green Steel this set. Really not many reps, but a situation that comes up a lot, a new struggle for the deck, is like, let's say you don't have a Muses in play, you've got an active shifted Diablo, and then your opponent plays a Genie, and you stop being able to, if you can't remove that Genie, you stop being able to comfortably quest with the Diablo, so you stop securing extra cards. So I imagine there are a lot of scenarios where, again, it's an inkable card, so it's a great little thing that if it's situationally amazing, then it's a great thing to include. But there's probably a lot of times where on like your turn 4 or 5, you just exert your Diablo to sing that on itself, and then, I mean, you can, if you have a Muse, is great. But if you don't, it prevents this situation where your Diablo is permanently checked by a Genie. Enables you to keep that draw going.
I mean, it's still crap threatens them, but yeah.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, you are still yeah.
Yeah, but that's reasonable. Yeah, I get that. Yeah. And
often I imagine at that point in the game, you've pushed them down on cards a little bit. Like, it's not like they're not under pressure. They might not always have like that perfect. The chances of them having like the perfect answers, like also an Elsa in addition to their Genie, or also a Crab in addition to their Genie, are probably fewer because you've pressured their hand a fair bit. Yeah, I don't know. I'm not an expert in the deck, but I can sort of see that it might have wider use cases than it appears.
Yeah, it has a lot of use cases. That's I didn't. Yeah, I have no doubt in that. But it's just the tight deck space that I was curious.
Yeah, sure.
And he also played it more aggressively now, probably because of Red Blue. He played Murphox and Smees in favor of Beast and Morph and such cards. Or what is missing here too? And no mines and that cards. No happies.
No. I think that's a very good call for the field.
Yeah.
I think Green Steel, it just can't go at the pace it used to go, right? In a field with that much red blue.
And it's one of the decks.
You just end up doing nothing.
Yeah. And it's one of the decks that still, I think people don't. Some people wouldn't agree here probably, but needs a lot of skill actually. And it's the one of the decks that I play when I play test, and one of the decks, that and Steel Song are the most decks that I play against, and I think, oh my gosh, if you had played it this way, I would be doomed. And you didn't play it this way, because often I see their hand because of Ursula or something, and then I think, oh, okay, I'm doomed. And then they don't play it this way, and then I think, okay, I'm not doomed. And then and cool, San will never never, you will never think that when you play against them.
No, sure.
And
Yeah, it is. It's a good point though. This deck is really skill intensive.
yeah.
And there are lingering attitudes towards it. I know because I hold them.
But the problem is it's very skill intensive, but has auto wins too. That's the problem. Because
it does.
Yeah, and the auto wins, then people think, and I count myself into it because I'm a human. I think this is no skill win now because you had Diablo Shift Cove and you're a bad human but that doesn't mean it's not skill intensive. I think the mulligan is probably relatively easy. Probably, I don't know, but still, probably you search for the Diablo things, and yeah, I don't know. Maybe he doesn't agree that the mulligan is simple, but I guess you still look for. Well, in this version, maybe you look also for Merfolks and yeah.
I think it's probably quite hard to mulligan this. I bet it's real easy to mess it up, but it's easy to send away.
Because in the past, I always think you hold any card that first three letters are D, I, and A, and every other card you send back. I
so
thought
you suggest they don't even need to read the full name of the card. They just tap out halfway through and we get there.
I really don't know if that's true. And I played the deck a bit, and not this version now, but yeah, and then you just realize how hard it is to pilot, and you sometimes have to. There are some decisions to play. Do you play the one-drop Diablo now in turn 4 or something just to push more lore, or do you keep it for ink or something? And there are some very much decisions here, and he got rewarded again for being that good of a player, because I think in a vacuum probably maybe he would disagree, but in a vacuum I think Grizzly was not in the best position right now.
No, I wouldn't say so, but then maybe, like you say, maybe he wouldn't agree, but
a red blue is still a tough matchup, probably. I think
gotta be. There's not that much discard here.
Yeah, and even then, even the discard was a hard matchup. I think you ramp up to the shark is a problem. He plays no Bruno. I see. Oh, that's interesting. No Bruno here.
No Bruno, no Zeus. You'd think the shark would be a horrific problem for this deck.
Yeah.
But maybe you're done by then.
Yeah, hopefully, probably. I mean, you can still strength sometimes, but yeah, well done, Zen. Again.
Yeah, amazing. It just continues to push the boundary of what you think any single player can do. It's amazing.
Then second place, I wanted to see Sailor's List too, but I think it's not too different from this. So I think we can shortly look at the list, but it's not too different. I just wanted to see a red blue list, so we take the second place list. Doesn't mean we don't like your list, Sailor. Please don't think that. Red blue. I thought before the tournament, I thought it will make either red blue or red purple. What was in the final? Can you tell me?
Yeah.
And I said a week ago, I said red purple will win, and everyone laughed.
We both said that.
Oh, you said it too. Sorry.
I was gonna say earlier, so I'll jump in and say it now.
Yeah.
That I want to congratulate the real winners of the weekend, us.
Yeah.
The people who really matter in all of this. It's us.
Yeah.
Because we both said red blue is the best deck in the format, but red purple will win this tournament, and plenty of people disagreed.
Yeah.
Red blue highest represented deck, red purple won, and we said exactly that. We said it won't be the most represented deck, red purple, but like a master with it will win.
And if you hear this, you can rewatch the episode of last week.
Go back and watch.
If you don't believe us, no.
Makes us look very petty. Like we need these small wins. But no, I think it was the right call, and it did play this final. Now that we're going to look at the last two decks, this final is kind of exactly what we chalked it up to be. So yeah, I'm proud.
Yeah, I mean, there's
a decent read.
Yeah, there's not much to say about Red Blue. I think you always, when you lose against Red Blue, then you always think this deck is so busted, and how can you not play this? And if you win with this, then you think that yourself too. So it's it's a menace. It's the list here is from Scott. Congrats, Scott.
Yep.
Is not too. There's nothing too special here. There's a one of Queen of Hearts, which is cool. I played a lot of.
I don't know how standard that is.
Yeah, I played a lot of Red Blue the last weeks.
Really?
Yeah.
That's not a great quality in a person.
Yeah. What's better, Red Blue or Green Steel?
I don't know. I don't know anymore.
You racist.
I've lost the ability to, like, any game that I lose, I just hate the deck.
Yeah.
And I've lost the ability to control my emotions with it anymore. So anything other than green purple, I hate. And then also, if somebody else beats me in a green purple mirror, I hate even that. So sometimes I just sort of think, do I just hate every single deck? Do I like this game? I think maybe I don't like Lorcana.
Yeah, maybe I would think about my mindset a bit if I win. No, I'm the same. And there are some decisions here that I think are a bit surprising for me, but not too crazy. I think only 3 Grammatella. For me, is Grammatella the best card in the deck? But that's no, Hiram is the best card, but Grammatella is also very, very good. I would probably not play only 3, but it's, you have to find space. And only 3 how far I go is also something that that's the, if I build a deck I play, I start with 4 Popsicle, 4 Hiram, 4 Grammatella, 4 how far I go, and the rest is. But I mean,
looking at the balance of the cards across the deck, I mean, it does make sense to me. You've got to shave something somewhere, haven't you? And you really, like, while Grammatella is amazing, you often, I don't know, you need stuff that does stuff in addition to all of your bits that keep you moving.
What I found by playing a lot of Red Purple against Red Blue, and the opposite too, that the matchups go very grindy often, and the one-off dime really helps. And you kind of experience that in that matchup, that he missed the dime. He didn't play it. So, the dime is still very, very good into Red Purple and often needed for that matchup. But Red Purple was not a matchup you had to take against in this tournament, and I totally get this that you don't play it. Very good list.
Really nice.
Nice. Congrats, Scott.
Congratulations, Scott. Amazing run. Fantastic.
And now our champion of America, Ed. And the list of Ed, it's first of all, it's an Ed list because it's 4 4 4 4 4 4 4 4 4 4 4 2 2 4 4 4 4 4. That's an Ed list. And what can you say? It's amazing.
It's very clean.
It's very clean, and I would like to hear his opinion, but probably I think he will agree. I think he's not too far away when I say it's highly tagged into the matchups that he thought will be very popular.
Yeah.
Like I think as a Red Blue, this deck is crushing Red Blue, and he showed it. And I think Red Purple Mirror Match is also struggling against this if he finds the genie answers. That's a bit struggling probably if you have no brawl opponent plays 2 genies, then you have a bit of a problem. But other than that, I think this deck can outvalue nearly any deck in the game. If it goes the value fight, this is the if you want to outvalue someone, play this deck. That's you can play nothing. You can play nothing better. It has also the libraries which are crazy for value fights. It has rabbits maximum. It has everything you need for it has 12 1-drops with which replace themselves. So you can't build a deck that's more built for value fights, and that's probably what he wanted to do.
Yeah, totally. And
yeah,
and he's found the space to do that by shaving off these cards that are considered mandatory, efficient mid-game threats and answers in Genie and Elsa, right?
And now, please, for the how can you say, for the document, I don't know the word.
For the record.
For the record, I posted a list in our testing group like 2 weeks or 3 weeks ago, and I cut it in red purple specifically. Cut it the Elsas, and everyone in the group instantly. Just for the record now. Instantly
not mad, but just for the record.
Instantly replied with, "Are you crazy? Cutting Elsas? Are you crazy? You need that for cheating? Are you crazy? Are you crazy?" And I said, "Hell, let me. I play without Elsas. I don't need them." And he decided the same, and yeah. That's what I just wanted to say. I think the Elsas are really, if a purple deck needs no Elsas, then it's red purple. I think, because you have a lot of tools.
Balls.
And people sometimes don't understand that Brawl is a way better Genie answer than Elsa, because your Genie, and don't forget that, your Genie can quest then, and that's a meaningful thing. The problem is that something I said to my coaching students also, that especially for aggressive decks, you have to have the mindset that you have in the end game. You have to have that in the early game too, because in the end game, when you're on 15, then suddenly you think, oh, nice, then I can quest with my Genie, I go to 17, nice. But in the early game, nobody thinks, oh, I go from 5 to 7, I quest down with a Genie, But you should think that, because it's the same law, But in the end game, you think, oh, nice, then I only need gold bounce, and then I won. And that's a mistake. Not in every situation, but you have to open your mindset a bit to this.
That is so true, and that speaks to, and is a better example, a much broader and more valuable example of what I was trying to say when I was talking about Elsa sometimes forcing your hand, which is that you have an Elsa, or you've drawn one and you're holding one, and you're going into your turn 5. You have a Genie, they have a Genie, and you feel like the line is so apparent of, well, of course, I play my Elsa, exert their Genie, hit with my Genie, hit with my Elsa. Like, often correct, but sometimes you are in this position where you should be questing with your Genie and forcing them to answer it. And throws off your game plan a little bit. Suddenly, you switched gears without really realizing it. They play their Elsa, then clean up your Genie. Suddenly, you're back at parity on the board, except you're behind on lore compared to where you should be. And it just leaves you like behind, right? And opens up those kind of crackback plays like Bell and stuff that just leave you way behind. It obviously can be fantastic, but the way you summarized it there, I think, is great. It's just, you need to carry that mindset throughout the whole game, and that doesn't mean mindlessly turn them sideways, but it does mean you need to think seriously about doing anything other than questing for 2 with your cards that quest for 2.
Law is a resource, you can say. The more law
Yes.
you have, the more um, patient and the more safe your opponent has to play, and the more careful he has to react to your plays.
Mm.
So that's just a thing you have to keep in mind. And by it, the only thing where I played a lot of the most deck I played was red purple the last weeks, and
Mm-hmm.
the only matchup where you really need Elsas are is still green steel. There you miss them a
Mm-hmm.
lot, and probably have a bad matchup. That's why I thought, at least I experienced a bad matchup without Elsas against green steel.
Mm.
That's why I thought, and I couldn't watch the matchup yesterday. That's what I thought. Oh, he will have a hard time against green steel probably because no Elsas and no Medusas too, and Medusas are also really good into green steel to kill
Mm.
Diablos or Ursulas, and the Tremaines are not very helpful, especially when San knows that he plays 4 Tremaines. Then
Yeah,
he will
sure.
leave his 1-drops just. And I thought he had a bad matchup. Probably still has. I could see the locations being very annoying for Green Steel to deal with. And he is, of course, he is reliable. The brawls, he need the brawls.
Mm-hmm.
And that's
Yeah, for sure.
that's fact. But
Yeah.
still did
Yeah.
it. In
Uh,
the
The
finals.
other
Yeah, sorry.
No, I was just going to say the other card that we've not really talked about is Library.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and man, did Ed make that card look incredible.
Yeah. And I was happy for him because it's like something you said earlier. It's exactly the card he wants to play. He's the
Yeah.
man. He wants to make this attrition fights. This. I have more cards in my hand than you. That's always what he wants to do, and that's exactly what this list does. It's exactly I have always more cards than you. That's what this deck
Yeah.
says, and that's what he wanted to do. And with 4 Tremaines, it's very hard. I mean, it always felt like the more Tremaines you play, the more chance you have to win against red blue,
Mm-hmm.
because you just run out of removal for their big characters, and the more Tremaines you play, the more chance you have. And I think it's very hard to lose with this list against red blue, and that's what kind of he showed. I mean, the games on the draw were still close, because just the Pirate's Life is just a very scary card. It's just, but the
Mm-hmm.
locations are really, really annoying, nearly in any matchups. And
Yeah.
I can totally see the library being better than Castle in this list, especially
Yeah, for
because it
sure.
just fits the game plan. Also, with these
Yeah.
12 1-drops that replace themselves, and and still they still get 1 law each turn, and
Mm.
yeah,
Yeah, I
yeah,
mean, if you needed a bigger advert for what I was saying before about reaching that point where you come to your own conclusions and you make your own judgments that aren't afraid to go against the logic that the general population seems to have adopted. Ed just won the highest level tournament in North America to ever happen with Red Purple while playing 0 copies of Elsa, 0 copies of Genie, and 0 copies of Maui. It's so cool, and just people will get sick of hearing me say this, but like I am the biggest advocate for like finding your way and finding the cards that gel for you. And like when people tell you they're bad, your answer is not for me.
yeah,
Like it
yeah.
isn't no, because maybe they are bad for other
And
people. It's
you know
it's
what?
not for me.
I can
Mm-hmm.
see totally people copying this list now. I play,
Yeah.
and they totally lose, and they say, it's bad. He was lucky.
Yep.
He was very lucky. It's such a bad
Yeah.
list. And no,
Yeah.
simply no.
Yeah. Not a massive amount of luck involved in this. No.
It's not a bad list, and
No.
yeah, it's a crazy good list. I still think, yeah, like we said, it's tagged for some matchups, and I think the mindset was still with him. I want to dodge some matchups that I don't want to face. I think he got 2-0, for example, by and I think that's the worst matchup probably. The Doc Amber Steel. I think that's really hard without crabs and I mean, he plays 2 crabs, but without Mauis and no Elsas, that's really, really hard. There I could see him struggling. At least I struggle. I would because Medusa, the next matchup where Medusa really shines, and but the big Sisu, yeah, big Sisu gets him there sometimes, I think. But yeah, he needs to have it, and he needs to have the shift line probably because turn 8 it's too late, and yeah, it's there's something that needs to go right to make a win against Amber Steel Dog, but that's fair, you know. You don't have only good matchups.
Yeah, for sure.
What I really think, what I just wanted to say, people think, and that's totally reasonable, that I don't want to have auto-lose matchups. That's something that players want to prevent, and that's reasonable. If you think, for example, if I play 3 rounds in a row against Green Steel or something, I lose, and then I think, okay, I have to play 3 to 4 Elsas to have consistently answers against Diablo and Ursula. So, and then you play 4 more Elsas for a matchup that's still bad, probably, but it makes it playable, you know, and that makes it playable. You're playing 4 cards in your deck. That makes a matchup that's not very popular, and you're still in a bad spot, playable, and that's not much value for a card that you don't want in any other matchups. But it's just a bad feeling, and that's the thing. I think it's wrong, but it's a bad feeling to go in a tournament and you think, oh my gosh, I don't want to play against this deck, or I auto-lose. But it's probably better to accept the auto-lose matchup statistically, and just say, okay, I lose that, but I have better matchup into nearly everything else. So the maths say probably go more risky. And I think that's always what happens in tournaments, probably, that the risky lists get not always, but often they get rewarded for risky lists, and that's the best example for it.
Yeah, I mean, in practice, it should be that the risky lists populate the top percentile and the bottom percentile, right? And in the middle is hyper consistency.
Yeah.
So you see them sort of rise a bit. Is that fair, or am I completely off base?
No. You think nah. If a risky list has only, I don't know. Yeah. You could say, yeah. sorry.
No, you don't seem sure.
No, I agree. I agree a bit, but maybe I have to think more about it. Because I don't see risky lists always go on the top.
Oh, okay, sure.
But maybe I'm just dumb.
No, I mean, no, it's a good point, because like Ed's list isn't risky, and a lot of these decks in the top 8 aren't risky. Like you couldn't say there's a great deal of risk with them, but it's like if you take that attitude towards certain matchups, where instead of just chucking a load of cards in your deck to make a bad matchup playable, you decide to hedge your bets and keep your good matchups good and somewhat accept a bad matchup, you kind of open yourself up to. You're a little more exposed to variance, right? Or I don't know.
It's probably true what you say, that you think, I don't know, if a quarter of the field plays a risky list, one of them gets lucky and goes through all of his good matchups, you know. That's probably the case nearly always. But the thing is, do you go for that approach, or is it better to go for that approach? In a summarize of 20 tournaments, probably it is. One of them you will win then, probably. And with a more consistent list, you will maybe win no of the tournament. That's what. But it's something we will never figure out. For that, we need to invite Frank Carsten at some point.
Yes. Well, that would be a lot of fun to talk to him anyway.
Yeah, that would be really cool.
It would be great to explore that sort of thing.
Because I know that for myself. I don't know how you consider yourself, but I am a very intuitive player for that high competitive that I play. I'm not I'm a math. You should be a math guy a bit if you play a TCG, no doubt in that. But I'm probably less. I should care more about the maths. So probably that's the thing when I see Ed's list. Please, Ed, no harm in that. If you play 12 1-drops, why it's 12? You know, why is not the right amount 11 or 13? You know. He plays always 4-offs, and that's no really. Ed, you're amazing, really. Please. But it's probably not correct to play 12. You know, from a maths standpoint, you know, it's probably correct to play 11 or 13. That's what I wanted to say, or 10 or except you say the 1-drops that are in here are so crazy good and so crazy powerful that they just outclass every other 1-drop and or any other card in the stack, and you need to play them or something.
Well, I mean, there's just as much chance of 11 being correct as 12, right? Like it's if you're deep on the numbers, there will be a single correct number. And like, is it coincidence that 12 is the sort of number that perfectly enables you to run 3 4-offs, or is that like personal preference and habitual? Is that sort of bleed in? And if it does it matter to an amount where it would affect you significantly, right? Like, okay, 12 is marginally worse than 11, but how significant is that margin? Like, what do you actually measurably gain from that? I don't know. I consider myself to be a little bit of a math guy up to a point, and then when you get into the true minute detail of it, I lose interest and make decisions based on feelings and emotions.
That's how I would feel. That's how I consider myself too. But when I see 2-liners, I don't repeat it anymore that I like your list, Ed. But when I see 2-liners, I always think it's lazy. That's what I think first when I see 2-liners list. But no harm in this deck list. But I always think, okay, you just thought I slam everything good card that I think are in the deck, and I don't care about how many 3-drops do I want to play, how many feel good. Do I want to play 6 3-drops or 7 or 5 or no? I just slam everything I feel is good in this list.
Well, I've always been very pro 2-liners. I like a clean 2-line deck. I think if a card's good, it's good, and for the reasons we discussed earlier, if it supports your play style, then it, you know, if a card is something that you want, then you want it outside of narrow situational answers. And I love a clean deck list like this, so I would, even if just a clean 2-liner is actually a significant motivator for Ed enough to register it in a super high stakes tournament, I still completely respect it. What I would love to do is have the conversation with him.
Did it sound for you that I don't respect it? No, please not.
No, not at all. No, not like you don't respect his decision, but like I see so much merit in. I don't know.
It's just an interesting. It's just an interesting topic, I think, for theoretical TCG theories, you could say. Or if 2-liners are better than not 2-liners, that's the. I mean, that's a theoretical thing. You can, even the best players in the world. I think Frank Carson is the exact opposite. He says 2-liners are bad. I think he said it in the in some podcast I listened to, and Ed says two-liners are the best in the world. Here I play only two-liners, so two of the best players in the world disagree here. So I think that's an interesting. It's an interesting. Just an interesting topic, I think.
It is for sure. So
Yeah.
what you're saying is we should get both of them on as guests,
Yeah.
and then we'll get them going on the topic. I'll mute my mic and just sit here and eat my dinner, and we'll just publish that as an episode.
That's a good thing. That's a
Yeah,
good thing.
that's a
we
great
do that.
plan.
I
I'm up
don't
for
know
that.
how much money we need to do that, but
No.
because Ed is probably very busy now.
Yes, I imagine that he will have a few requests.
Yeah. Okay, but with that, I think we are finished. Or do you have something else to?
No, I think it's a good place to wrap it up. Yep.
Yeah. So thanks for listening, as always. Thanks for supporting us, and it was a great episode again. We are back next week, and yeah, have a good one till next week, and bye.
Yep. Thank you. Bye.